I even listened to you, like in the very beginning, I went all the way back, Harry. So like it's very interesting from where we start. But you can't be afraid. And it always starts, and I say that, and it's overcoming the fear of entrepreneurship. That's why I wrote that book.
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
105, 106 entrepreneurs that come to this broadcast on Unstoppable 5 Step How to Make Your First Million, they are tech entrepreneurs. So it could be that the tech space is a good space to become really wealthy. However, we need to make all our audience know that it's a huge risk. So what happened? How you managed to achieve all this?
So
It's
I
not
wasn't
common.
always a no, it's not. And I'll tell you why. So
Tell us.
I've been in business for 30 years, but
Wow.
not in my business, right? My
Mhm.
business is probably about 6 years old. I
Mhm.
was in finance for 30 years. I worked
Mhm.
in large corporations and banks for 30 years. I was a retail banking center manager. So I've always been the face. Then I was in the back of the house, right? So I've always had to sell. I've always had to be out there engaging with customers. That customer service skill gave me the foundation, right? Because
Wow.
who you're talking to, right? It's about customer service. It's about understanding the needs of the person. It's always been about the person. It's not about the business itself. And I think that's the one thing that stood with me throughout the many, many years, right? So, I mean, I didn't start off where I started off, right? I
Mhm.
started off somewhere else.
Mhm.
And I had to do the cold sales, right? I had to go out and I had to hit the ground running. I had to go to communities and networking and believe me, they're not comfortable because you don't know people and especially if
Mhm.
you're an introvert, it's even that much harder. And a
Mhm.
lot of the software people out there today, or a lot of the developers or the engineers that are out there are introverts, right?
Yes,
Like you
absolutely.
said, yeah, and I understand that. I'm partially an introvert, but I had to learn to be an extrovert because if you want a business, you have to be able to do that. And it's very difficult. Believe me, like I
Yeah.
said to you, I walk into a room, I still get butterflies in my stomach. I come onto this podcast, I'm like, oh my God, I got to talk. you know, but you know what? I can't worry about what people think. And I think that's the biggest thing I'll tell anybody who has a great product, a great application, and they want to launch their business. Again, overcome your fear. People will help you. And you may not know where to start. Free fall, right? But I made that decision because I knew at any time I'm expendable. And I think I learned that through a lot of restructuring. I've seen a lot of good people with the
Incorporate,
company
right?
20,
Yeah.
30 years, and all of a sudden, they're being let go, right? And as these
And you don't have
corporations,
a plan B, you have nothing. You're literally.
that's right, you're stuck. Maybe you're lucky if you get a severance, right? Maybe. If not, you get your 2 weeks, you pay your vacation, and you're on your way. Now what, right? You're collecting on, you're lucky for $300-400 a week. So I took a look back a couple of years ago when I started my business and I said, I got to do something else. I went back to school. I wanted to go into technology. I knew that. So you have to make a decision on what you really want to do. You have skills, right? Like, let's say you're an auditor. I don't know. You have that skill. You have auditing skills. You can go out and you can start working on a W-2, put your name out there, get your resume out there. There's so many things that entrepreneurs can do today to start their own business. It's not even funny, right? And it's going to start small, right? You're not going to expect to make $100,000, in the first year. It just doesn't happen. But could it? Absolutely. But I think for those women that are on the fence, right, and they're afraid, they're miserable at work or whatever it might be, um, I had to make that decision. I went back to school and I said, okay, I'm going to go to school. It's going to take me 2 to 3 years. I knew it was going to take me 2 to 3 years to get my certifications and get the background, the technical end of what I needed. So I started that journey, and in the interim, I stayed working, but I was at school 4 nights a week, right? So you're kind of burning the bridge. So sometimes you have to put in what you want out of it, and it was very hard. I mean, I was burnt. I was burnt. By the time those 3 years were done, I remember my brain like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God. But, you know, then I said, you know what, what's the next step? And that's when I started to go, okay, well, how do I start a business? What do I do? Where do I start? Where do I learn? Who can I reach out to? And I started online like you probably did, or anything else,
Mm-hmm.
reaching out to people saying, I
Small,
want to
yeah.
start. Yeah. And I remember I listened to, I think it was Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you know who that is, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah. So I listened to one of his podcasts a long time ago, and he gave really good advice. He said, you know what? Start with the people you know. Go through your contacts, go through your emails, go through, all your social media and start reaching out to those people first. Because those are the people that you'll be a little bit more comfortable with and
Your
starting to build.
relationship with, yeah.
Yeah. That you
Mm-hmm.
kind of maybe even if you haven't spoken to them. I remember reaching out to people that I hadn't spoken to in 6, 7 years. I'm like, hey, I'm going to start a business. Can I test something on you? And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
go out selling. I asked them for opinions. I asked them, if they would look at my product, if they would let me, you know, practice on them. Right. So sometimes you have to do that. And that's kind of where I really started. I didn't do the hard sales at first. Right. And then eventually, I got into going into the networking groups, being singular into where I wanted to be. I've gone to all the conferences, right? You meet a lot of great people, but selling everybody. You're selling them, they're selling you. So,
uh,
but I just was at the Cyber Summit last week in New York City, right? And I was visiting the tables, just kind of, mushing around. And I met one of this, I met this guy who has his own product, and it's his second time building a product. The first product he sold, and he was sharing his story with me, he sold for $30 million, right?
wow.
What a lot of these smaller entrepreneurs need to realize is the larger companies today are looking for those next game products, and they're willing to buy you out.
Wow.
So you
Very
have to
powerful.
get your sales pitch, join a group. I joined Women Economic Development, right? I took a great class, taught me a lot of things about business. Um, and it was something that I needed. It was a foundation to build a business plan on and how to get out
Mm-hmm.
there. So,
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid. Reach out
Community
to
is
me.
very
I'll tell
important.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll help them too, Harry. Right? Like we need to build a community so people are
Uh,
not, if they're stuck, you got to ask. Got to
you need to
ask.
ask for help, and sometimes it's difficult for an entrepreneur to ask for help, but
Yes,
or to look for help and try to solve the problem ourselves. But it's you will be surprised when you said I need help. How can guide you and help, especially they are also entrepreneurs. They know what you're going through, and
that's right.
your community, at least the people that come to this podcast, I found that they're amazing. They are very approachable, very helpful, and being there, we all have until we all have been with the same process, finding our first client, the
Mm-hmm.
butterflies, growing a company, growing a team, go for the up and down, market change, you name it. That roller coaster that we all go through, that only us understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Michelle, women in corporate, what message do you have for the women out there, the ones that are like you, right? Because it's a big difference between being in a corporate and run your own business. And I know a lot of women in corporate, they are looking at you and say, "Wow, I wish that I had the courage like Michelle to quit this job and start my own business because." They're feeling that they're in the golden cage. They're not fulfilled. They're not happy. They're not growing.
Yeah.
They're making good money, but and they don't know when they're gonna get fired. And now they have a stress and they become overweight and unhealthy. However, become an entrepreneur is completely. There are few different things, and that transition sometimes. People from corporate to become an entrepreneur, they have time to adjust it because number one, when you have a job, you have to become very good at that job. Yeah, and if somebody comes, sometimes you will be able to say, "Well, I'm sorry, this is not my job." That doesn't happen when you have a business. Everything is your job, and there is no such a thing as Saturday and Sunday or day off or 9 to 5 when you have a business, especially in the first 2 years. After, yeah, when you scale, when you put your manners and everything, of course, but depend how you can design it. Actually, you design it what time you want to work, and in our business we design what time we're going to work and which day we're going to work, and everybody adjusts to it. It gets it's in it on purpose like this. So which I find very to on Mondays. It's amazing. There's nobody on the street. All the restaurants are empty. You get a lot of offers. It's brilliant to rest Monday and Tuesday. Yeah. Oh, this is one of the early discoveries. This discovery is not new. 16 years ago, we discovered this. I say we because and my girlfriend, she also run companies as well. So we adjust this, and wow, we find out that Mondays is amazing. Nobody wants Mondays, and we're excited every time the Mondays is showing up. Yeah, because it's good. Less people in the cinema, everything, and good food and eating peace with silent. Amazing Mondays. Anyway, so the Michelle, what do you have for women in corporate that they don't have that courage? They are trapped in this golden cage,
Mm,
and it's high risk because becoming an entrepreneur is a skill. The more you practice, the better you become. And when you wait until a certain age, or don't have the strength, and start find your first client when you are 50, 55, of course it's possible, but you can take that early. So because you've been in both, yeah, what are the pros and cons? Why you decided to this leap of faith, and do you really knew what you getting into and the risk that you were getting into, becoming uh, your own business and start to employ people in a very competitive and technical
mm.
type of product? Yeah. So tell us what happened. And what
Yeah,
message do you
so
have for women in corporate? What message do you have for
I'm
women in
gonna,
corporate that
yeah.
are the same like you?
Listen, I was in corporate, like I said, for 30 years. And I think the founding decision, the reason why I made the decision I made to go and work for myself was A, tired, right? Like you said. And you're complacent because you need that paycheck, right? What do I do
Mm-hmm.
without a paycheck? And I think a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
stay because they don't know what they would do. And it's afraid taking a look at a lot of YouTube classes, like just learning and listening from people, from millionaires and people like that, and listening on how their journey went. I even listened to you, like in the very beginning, I went all the way back, Harry. So like it's very interesting from where we start. But you can't be afraid. And it always starts, and I say that, and it's overcoming the fear of entrepreneurship. That's why I wrote that book.
Mm-hmm.
You've
Mm-hmm.
got to start with yourself. You've got to start with what makes you afraid and why. And once you answer that question, you realize that there is no fear. It's only what you're telling yourself, right? It's a mindset. It's shifting your mindset. And that's really what difference is. For those that really want to do it, they shift their mindset. There's a need for them that's greater than the fear that they have. And that's kind of where I went. You become a game changer, right? You have to realize what you want. And if you're on that fence, reach out to somebody. There's so many coaches out there, people that'll teach you for free. Go on LinkedIn. I mean, all day long. I mean, I can give you 20 people that I reached out to, didn't pay a dime to, and these people are very successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just started to like research them, pinged them on LinkedIn, said, hey, we need a mentor. I want to do
Mm-hmm.
this. I have an idea. What can you give me? They have the time, they'll talk to you, right? Some of them
Absolutely.
won't, some of them will be flaky, some of them won't, I'm not saying, but you
But
know how it
someone
is,
will
right, Harry?
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But you be afraid to change. You can't be afraid because if you're going to go by fear and you're going to worry about that paycheck.
Mm.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.